about that. So, buenos dias, muchachos. It's definitely awesome to be here with you today. Tim, did you make it here today? No. But hey, Sarah. Some new faces. Woohoo! Welcome and good morning. I wanted to start out today looking at the Orion indicator on the daily chart. And I think there are some lessons to be learned here, and I may provide you some insight as to how I look at time-based charts. No, Earl, that's cool. And Earl, I wanted to show you something later too. I thought it was kind of cool. This chart is based on the position of the moon in relation to the Earth. And this indicator derives its signals in part from that source. So Sarah, picture us out here on planet Earth, right? And so the moon travels around the Earth in an elliptical orbit. Have you ever heard, Sarah, the expression supermoon? Like we just had that super blood moon, super wolfy blood something. Okay. So they're describing a scenario where the moon looks larger in the sky because it's closer, because it's closer to the planet. And vice versa. It can look smaller at the places in its orbit where it's farther away. So the word that our geometry teachers used was focal length. The moon has two focal lengths, f1 and f2. So the software is referencing those geometries. And Sarah, everywhere you see a dot is an f1 or an f2 moment in the Earth's lunar relationship. Does that make sense? Now I'll explain why in a second. But the mathematics of it, can everyone at least digest that these red and green dots are the maximum and minimum rotational points, elliptical arrival points? Okay. So it then becomes a question of, a lot of people say, well, why? And everything comes down to three forces that influence mass physiology, mass psychology as a byproduct of physiology. You have gravitational field, you have magnetic field, and you have electric field. So these three things, Sarah, are measurable. They are quite real. They also have a pronounced effect on human psychology. So, for example, they've done studies, and Earl, you're probably more apt to experience this than some of our other landlocked students. When you go to the beach, there are studies that show why people feel good at the beach. And one of those reasons involves when the sand is hit by the waves. That's a horrible looking wave. But Sarah, those waves release, here, that's better. When the sand hits the beach, positive ions are released. The water has an electron stripped away from it. So to put it simply, positive ions are molecules that have lost one or more electrons. So when the water crashes against the sand, these positive ions are released, and it makes people feel better, because everything that happens internal to us, our brains are driven by these electric fields. We're a giant Duracell battery, like the movie The Matrix. Miles and miles of electric wire in our brains called neurons. So what they have discovered is the more of these positive ions there are, the better we feel. And in fact, there have been clinical trials that show positive ion generators, which you can buy. I actually have one downstairs that we used to test. Actually helps cure depression. Makes people feel better. So when the moon is as close as it is to the Earth, stay with me, here comes the big leap. There's something around the Earth called the ionosphere. And Sarah, when the moon is really close, it pulls that ionosphere closer to us. So we're closer to a theoretical beach. Does that make sense? And when the moon is far away, that beach is farther away. So we feel better, we feel worse. We feel better, we feel worse. Greedy, paranoid, risk-taking, risk-averse. And the theory basically bears out fairly accurately, I would think, in a chart like the S&P. When we come back and we measure, well, what really happened at those days, there's been a measurable, perceivable affect. Good morning, Tim. Tim, I just noticed your last name. As a man who's married to a woman from Naples and Sicily, I just want you to know we don't have any beef with the Calabreses. We're going to let you guys take care of everything in Brooklyn north of 4th Street. And the Caminuses and Tagonis will take care of everything south of 4th Street. Alright, we don't want any issues with you guys. You keep your people uptown, I'll keep my people downtown. Nah, you're fine. So, I have a guest here today. His name is Tim Calabrese. He's a good guy, by the way. So, Sarah, what we see here are some really pronounced effects. And then something starts to happen right in here. And that's what I want to focus on today. Something interesting is happening right now. And there's a clue here. There are several clues here about what's happening, because banks will actually key in on this Achilles heel that we have. When I know these days are coming now, Earl, for example, James, I actually I give myself some slack. So Sarah, there'll be days, I notice around these peak moments that things around my house will start breaking. You ever notice that? There'll be a string of failures. Your computer won't boot up. The microwave flakes out. The car has a check engine light that comes on. It seems like those things occur in clusters. And one of the things that I've noticed, because I pay attention to it a lot more, they happen kind of around these times. And so on a personal level, Sarah, I give myself a little bit of leeway. I sort of walk away, I back off, I don't fix it right away. I tend to immerse myself and get really flustered. So what are some clues that we see here? And there's some really interesting things here. Number one, the last 3 selling points have produced some fairly large moves. And Earl, you'll see here wave 1 takes us down to here, and we'll use a different color. And again, all these concepts can be applied intraday too as well. So this isn't just a daily bar analysis. These time concepts will apply to a 1-minute chart, a 30-second chart, as well as a daily chart. And then we have that second push down right here. And then Sarah, there's this climactic board clearing run right there that seems to take out all of the loose money. And then we get to this guy, the dinker. And you can see that we have big candle up, big candle, blue candle, blue candle. And then do you notice, James, how everything goes into a range here for a little while? You can sort of see the market is consolidated right there. And we have these little spinning tops and the first low close candle. All those things, Tim, are occurring in that range right there, right at the time where we're expecting breaks to be applied and then pushes to the downside experienced. But we didn't get any pushes to the downside. And Sarah, you see this run right back up to the moving average, and we predicted that. You can actually see the blue rectangle here that we've been using for reference as the bounce point for the sell-off. And those bounce points are based on closing prices of the time cycles, or these lunar moments. So let's talk about that for a second. You'll notice when the candles close for the apogees and the perigees, the dates of the full extent, the full pressure moments of the lunar gravitational field, the software is extending, Sarah, the closing price of that bar forward into the future. Does that make sense, Tim? So on the closing price of this day, for example, you can see where my cursor is and how that line extends forward. Okay, well, the theory, the observable theory of that goes all the way back to Gann in the 30s. Let me show you what I mean. Computer, desktop. He in fact tells us that this will happen. And a very interesting thing happens at those prices. I'll find the exact quote. And we've given these prices a name called the open price line. So he says, by a study of the time periods and time cycles, you will learn why tops and bottoms are found at certain times, and why resistance levels are so strong at the certain times, and bottoms and tops hold around the resistance levels of the time cycles. I'll say that again. According to Gann, when you've identified a relevant time cycle, a resistance level is paired to that time cycle, coupled with it, entangled together. The cycle derives, or the cycle propagates, rather, the resistance level is derived from the time cycle. And when we look at that and look for those resistance levels, bottoms and tops hold according to Gann. So if you find the right time periods, Sarah, we're going to see dots near highs and lows. And if you find the right time periods, you're going to find bounces off of the prices associated with those highs and lows. Sounds good in theory. There's also another reference to that in this quote up here. There is a definite relation between time and price. Now, we have a Las Vegas event coming up. You'll see some advertisements for it in your email the next couple of weeks. We're actually doing a 3-day live event where we couple time and price together in a trading system. And so when we relate all of this back, you'll see that, Sarah, from this point forward, the closing price of the last selling pressure day, right here, 1, 2, almost 3, 4 days in a row, none of the candles really close below except this one, which barely closes below it. And only really because there's a second line, Sarah, right underneath it, right there. So can you see in that consolidation period, James, how price is sitting above this line like a shelf? It's holding it like a shelf, right? Okay. So that tells me that the selling pressure was never really going to be followed through on. There's some larger cycle at play here right now where this has become, and this was, a redistribution, a reaccumulation phase. So come with me and look at basic market theory charts. And I want you to see what this looks like in relation to what's actually taking place here. So slideshow from current slide. Can everyone see that on my chart? This red dot over these wiggle candles with a breakthrough. Earl, do you notice how it looks a lot like that? Yeah. So this spring pattern right here was like a brand new shock low. Then we've kind of pulled up, and now we're into this. Now, look at what happens here. That next phase is a new high and then a pullback into a correction. A new high and then a pullback into a correction. So you can even see it right here. There's the circle, and then you have the new high, and then Sarah, it's been pulling down. Okay. What's interesting to me is the pattern at the next green dot is a pattern 5. If you compare, if you compare what's taking place, we have swing lows all the way to the left of us, and then right here, brand new green dot high, and that's where that red arrow comes from. And then we had that pullback down. But here's what's interesting to me. Earl, it maintained its low. So if you look at the new support line right here, the new support line for this cycle, Sarah, is right here, 2630. More or less. And do you notice how that support level, no candles are closing underneath it? And just like its prior signal, there have been multiple attempts to get underneath it, and each time, Sarah, there's a slingshot effect back up. All right. So there are levels at play here, and we can do this with any chart. We do it with futures, forex, stocks, bonds, notes, everything from Google to soybeans. All of these things have to obey these laws that we're discussing. So the next two levels up are 656 and 658 half. And that's where we live right now, from these other reaction points. Okay, so this cycle is still active. This pullback is still here, and we're just starting to ride up out of it. So I see more buying pressure for at least 5 days. According to the software, we have 5 more days of this, Sarah. So bullishness on the menu, at least right now, where are we? 40, 50, there's 7 to 10 more points of space available here before we start to feel sad again. Is everybody with me so far? This is on a longer time frame, but I want you to understand why markets are flowing the way that they are and why this consolidation is occurring here, where those levels are and why those levels exist. Okay, there's a science cause-effect based relationship, but one of the biggest clues that we have about where we're going in the short term is that signal right there. That is a thumbprint. This is a reaccumulation phase. Okay. And if you look at the larger cycle here, you kind of have up, carry, you have that pattern right here, and then Earl, the spring pattern, up into here, and you compare all of that to this. The cycles are lining up exactly with what we're expecting to see. And this green dot here is this one down here. Anybody have any questions? Now, do you remember, Carrie, we talked about the law of splits, the law of oscillation, the law of thirds? And Tim, we spoke about this yesterday on one of the NQ charts that I showed you. Okay. Now, one of the things I noticed right here is that it appears we're missing this little cycle, right? I don't see that little red dot and green dot over here. I will explain that in 1 second. But Carrie, take a look. If I come over here and I use my split between here and here, do you see how it lines up now? Okay. Now, I'm operating in Ninja 7, but in the Ninja 8 version of this, there's a feature called inversion. So for the first several years of this run, Carrie, the lunar phases were out of phase, meaning I had everything flipped. Everywhere you see a green dot should have been a red dot, and everywhere you see a red dot should have been a green dot. And I didn't realize it until way back here when we first had the brand new highs. And when I went into the software and I inverted every signal, I was finding every high and low. But then we reached the new solar sunspot minimum, which I believe occurred in October. There's a video on YouTube about that in the class that you saw in Vegas about that in April. Everything reverted back to normal once we got to the October high. And when I brought the signals back to their former glory, from that point forward, everything's been lining up normally. So what I've done here is I've covered up the signals where the inversion would normally be, and I've restored it to its former glory. In the new version, the Ninja 8, I can just click a button and it does it automatically. Okay, but that's the state of affairs right now. This was definitely a trend reversal right there. Now, this morning, using the trading systems that we've been learning about from 6 o'clock forward, this is the NQ 1 minute chart. The NQ 1 minute chart that we're referencing has a unique feature in that we're looking at a 6-day trading day cycle. We're using a swing pivot strength of 6, going back 6 days to find a specific 6-day-old cycle. I've also taken a 60-minute signal with the same values and applied it to the chart, and that open price line we discussed on the 60-minute time frame is plotting on my screen. And now the system that we're tracking is allowing me to, from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock, track these windows of accuracy. So I'm going to go long at the white dots when I'm above the blue line and short at the blue dots when I'm below the blue line. And so at 6:54 we have a sweet little run up. At 7:09 we have a sweet second run up. Then we have a stop out at 7:47. We have another sweet run up that goes back to the stop. And then as recently as 8:29 while I was talking, we had another winner here. So -2, plus a half. We'll come over on our spreadsheet. We're keeping track of these now. -2, plus a half, 6.5, 5.5, -2.25, -2.5, 3. And on our money management spreadsheet, we are looking to take the next signal in our sim account because it's telling us we have a live signal here. That little green box is telling me the next one should be engaged. Over on our CL chart, we are also above the 60-minute open price line. We've been there since the London Open. And so from 6 o'clock forward, which is the time that we've chosen to keep track of for our back testing, we have a 3 ticker, a -5, and we've got a nice little run up right here. A 13 ticker, we have a 5 ticker, a little break even, a stop out right there, and we have a little winner here, a loss right there, and now we're actually involved right here with another loss. So on this one, we'll push it over and we're going to fill in our spreadsheet. Come all the way down. There we go. We have, yep, -5, 3, 13, 5, 1, -7, 3, -5, -4. So best case scenario on those, that's what we'd have ended up with. And we're still looking to engage the next signal, which is going to occur at 8:49, forgive me. Over on the ES, we're not going to track the signals or engage them until 9:30, but we'll be watching for the 4 setups that I taught last week, and I posted a YouTube video in case you missed it. We'll be looking for long signals here. We'll be looking for punctures of the counter trend signals. We'll be looking for more long signals like we did at 7:49 and 8:17, short signals at 8:25 and 8:35. So now that we're below the moving average on the 1 minute chart, these are usually anywhere from 4 ticks to 20 ticks usually is the biggest runner I see on a 1 minute chart. Right now, below the moving average, we would be looking for selling pressure below the white dot line. That would be an area for a short. Now, this little guy I love this NQ chart. I just think it's cool because it's pretty accurate in terms of telling us when selling and buying pressure is coming in. And the only real difference between it and what we've been doing with the other three charts, this is my playground chart, is the following. It's still a 7/14 calendar day chart, meaning we're looking back 1 week and 2 weeks into the past. But instead of a 6 or even an 8 for the swing strength on the pivot tool, we've doubled it to a 15. And Earl, what that does is it forces the software to look at times in the past where larger pivots took place. It forces it to look in the past where larger pivots took place. And so we've got these nice, really crisp, larger moves on the chart as a result. Now, I also have a larger dot offset, meaning the candle, because it's a larger swing, the stop is further away from the signal. So the last 4 signals in a row were at 7:21, 7:42, 7:53, 8:14, and the next one coming is at 8:46. One of the techniques that I use this chart to teach you about is, again, that split technique. When we have signals that are so far apart, I can take my split line and now I can drive that down into thirds. And the law of oscillation tells me that I can oscillate now between the signals as we make our way across that field. So the last 2 intermediate cycles are what I call the splits. The first split occurred at 8:24, and the second time split occurred at 8:35. We mark those just as a reference point. And now, Sarah, you'll see, just like before on the ES chart, we've burst through that dot right there. So the buyers are now in control until at least 8:46 on this chart. The banks are driving higher because we've punctured through that red line, that red dot. One of the things I try to do is maintain with our splits, Carrie, I try to maintain an equidistant dot offset. And so what I'll be doing is just take this rectangle and I'll be coming here and applying that to where the dot should be. We'll do the same thing for 8:35 actually. And I'll put the tip of that right there. And we'll kind of keep this off as a measuring tool. Okay, when I do the splits, what I'll do is I'll cheat and I'll cover up the parts of the line that don't apply anymore so that we can have our own new lines at the splits, just to keep an idea of where our stops might go. Dash, apply. And now up here, the red line would be there. Okay, so is everybody on board with how I'm using this chart? Our next set of splits, Tim, I already know what chunk of time we're studying, so I can apply it over here. And now my first split is going to be orange, because that'll be selling pressure, law of oscillation. And then my second split will be white as we come into those. So 8:46 on my larger swing chart in the NQ is a buying pressure signal, which is now above the moving average. So pullbacks to that in the next 55 seconds will probably be a higher probability setup. And those are the 4 horsemen here. The 4 charts that we'll be watching and looking for those kinds of setups with. Everybody good? Sweet. I'm going to save my spreadsheet. Pardon me. I could not sleep last night. And it was frustrating because it was through no negligence of my own. Hang on before I get into that. The last signal, Tim, at 8:40 in the NQ, we were expecting buying pressure from the 6-day cycle. Market closed higher for a $6, $5.50 move. We'll just put 5. We're still in engaged mode. Our next signal is at 8:56. If you're scalping the NQ, we're looking for selling pressure 8:43 into 8:56. We're watching for breakouts above that blue line. Tim, do you notice what happened at my split at 8:46 here in the NQ? How that candle closed and it shot straight up, right? Like it had a rocket tied to it. Let me turn off this pattern 7. We don't need that right now. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm going to save this workspace again. Okay. So we're still climbing higher on the NQ chart. Nice pullback right at 8:46. Like I said, touch the moving average, gone. We can anticipate those moves in advance using that time cycle that was waiting for us. Now over here on CL, again, we don't know what will happen at 8:49. There's been a pullback into that time. I would be looking specifically for a stop run of this little low right here, if it were me. But the signal is the signal. And so in 27 seconds, I'm going to prepare
order pending
in my simulated account my orders.
Order filled.
Okay, so just to track it, that's how I would apply it right there. Over on our NQ chart from yesterday. So Tim, this is the same setting that I showed you yesterday. Nothing's different from what we went over. You can sort of see what's happening.
Order filled.
I was on the wrong side of that.
Order filled.
I was supposed to buy.
Order filled.
There we go. So that was a -7. I hit the short button on accident. Couldn't figure out why I was making money when it went against me. Okay, last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 signals in the ES working really well. The present signal right here is a selling pressure signal above the moving average. We expect it to wiggle waggle in here and not really go anywhere. It's a reaccumulation phase. Okay, so the signal after that though is 8:52. 8:52 has a historical aggregate of buying pressure tends to go higher there. While we're sitting here, just a brief review of where we're at. I got to run through this. I've not been, and I need to. Dana, let me get the dot offset for you. Hold on. So on the 15 swing strength chart, I believe it's a 15 dot offset. So 15, 15. $8.52 signal on the ES. We have a climactic move right here. On this chart, it's driving higher. That window closes at 8.58. NQ, Tim, we're coming into that first split on the 15 chart here. What I like about it is that we're coming up near pre-existing highs. So this would be an area that they're looking to stop people out from. And we're coming into that selling pressure time here. So these surges up into the move are where we're going to see the best selling pressure. So when we have those splits, Tim, remember I said I put the signal to the left of the split line, right? So Sarah, that's what that one is right there. That is the candle to the left of the split line. Carrie, we're going to use that same, Dana, I'm going to use that same dot offset. So over here, I'm going to take that box that we drew. I'm going to put this right on top of it. And Tim, do you notice how it's almost like they're following a dance, right, brother? Like a bunch of fish or birds that are kind of following the lead bird. So that first stop was taken out by 1 or 2 ticks right at that time. That would be your scalping area, by the way. That's where your Keltner channel would be. So while we're all exiting the profit from the 846 signal, you would be entering. It's kind of fun to watch it play out in real time, right? It's almost it's off. You're off balance. You're off balance, if anything. Okay, 856. It's not supposed to do that. And when you see it doing that, it's like, whoa. 8:56 and 44 seconds on our system, the mechanical system with no filters, is showing up here momentarily. We're going to look and see what we can't do. We'll get our
Order pending. Order pending.
buy and sell stop ready. The money management spreadsheet is telling me that I should be looking for a long entry here, or I should be looking for an engaged entry versus just tracking it. And in 14 seconds we're going to try to get in there. We have this little countdown timer now.
Order filled.
Alright. So now that mechanical system is done until 9:20. So it can hit the stop, it can close anywhere in between those two, the stop and somewhere else. But mechanically there's nothing else I can do. So I sit and I wait.
Clip. Nancy Pelosi once again. The gift.
Excuse me one second. Sorry about that.
How they like to smear everyone. So pay attention. Here it goes.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, call it the.
So Ken, on the swing strength for the first chart should be set to, I want to say it's 6. It's set to 6 with a 120 period exponential moving average. On the E-mini S&P on this chart, my swing strength, I believe, is set to 8. And the Swing strength is 8. What's unique about the ES chart is that the times that are appearing are CL times. Can you guys see in the upper right hand corner? I'll blow it up so you can get a better feel for the settings here. On this chart, we're actually, Tim, following the times from crude. So we've sent the software back to look at crude future times a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 days ago, and 6 calendar days ago. So this combination of crude futures times on top of the ES produces a really compelling result. So we go back and look at yesterday, for example. Do you see where those moves were coming in and going out, Ken? And that's a really, really, really tight dot offset. That's a 3-tick dot offset. It should probably be 4 or 5, but I keep it tight for scalping. Okay, so we're at the next split. And you guys remember, ladies, remember, it's the candle to the left of the line that we've drawn. So on our 15 swing strength chart, we've applied that signal. I'm already long, otherwise I would take a long. And Tim, notice what happens when we got to that time split? It's more of the same, right? It's that same reaction. That, oh man, wow, this really is happening. We are catching these guys with their hands in the cookie jar. Time seems to have a very relevant effect. 9:01 though, it's a little spooky because that's a CL open up time. And I always get nervous around this time because the NQ and the ES are coupled very tightly to what CL does. So right here, we had a -7. So we got up $80 per contract in the NQ. Question remaining, will we retain our profitability by the exit time of 9:20? It's nice because this signal on our large 15 swing strength chart has some assistance from that first split. But we are up near that high, so I expect there to be some pushback. If you're just joining us, and I forgot to say good morning. Good morning. There's the 901 ES signal. And Tim, you see here, it comes back, touches the EMA, and immediately on the close of that candle shoots up. It's up, what is that, $100 per contract. It's fun to watch. I never get tired of watching that. So we're definitely catching the right signals. Next signal on CL is right here at 9:07. We're not going to engage it because our sim is activated. We're going to sit on the sidelines and just track what happens at 9:07.
the stakes are different now because of what the president has said and meant.
I think there's a
That's
feeling
what
that
some say. He used language that he called locker room talk,
Yeah.
which many don't see that way about women, and he meant it, not in the form of a joke.
Sometimes we say, was there a line, did this person cross the line? But is there a line anymore? I think the Trump presidency raises that question about where the line is, given how many times the president has crossed what we used to think was a line. I think that was the intention of these 9 years. Because the president wasn't there, it changed the event in a big way. When the president's there, you have a comedian in order to respond to the president's jokes, kind of as a relief.
That's why people would want the president.
Look inside of him, take a look at her, she's a slob.
He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured.
I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Jeb Bush is a low energy person. For him to get things done is hard. Maxine Waters, a very low IQ individual.
We have a representative in Congress who they say was here a long time ago. They call her Pocahontas.
Okay, there's our 907 signal in CL. We're not engaging it because our money management worksheet has us in SIM. Okay, but we're keeping track with a stop just below this white line at 74 and an entry at 81. Pretty low risk right here. 78 to 74, only 4 ticks. If we wanted to risk 4 ticks to see if it was in fact going to push higher, we could. Tim, we're coming into 910 on the NQ, everybody. That would be a place I would consider looking at a potential exit. If you're presently long in the NQ. $200 per contract, $210 per contract. Okay, Sarah, we're at the next time. 910 on the NQ. I'm actually going to close my account here for the room. But for keeping track of where the signal is, guys, I'm tracking where we are with that entry, that stop, and looking where we're at by 9:20 for the NQ. Tim, did you see why I got out at 9:10 and why you're probably just getting in right now? Being new here, looks like your system does not trail stops. Will you just leave the initial risk stop in place on the NQ until the predetermined end of cycle time? Yes. Now, James, the question is why? So, I talked a little bit yesterday with a really great guy about this. And so, James, one of the things that I've uncovered in training people, master a simple skill completely before adding complexity to it. So James, what I'm basically showing is a very basic entry, a very basic stop, and a very basic target that's based in time. So is it possible that the stop trails? Yes. Is it possible that our entry can be more advanced? We can couple it with, say, order flow or volume or some type of support and resistance, etc. Yeah. Can we have a more advanced trailing target that's perhaps based on, I don't know, a parabolic SAR or things of that nature? Yeah. But what I'm trying to accomplish in this room is tied to what I called yesterday, what I referred to yesterday as a conscious competence. A conscious competence phase. So James, what I'm trying to do is get you to enter into a mechanical phase of your trading, where it becomes simple. We know exactly what to do and when to do it. And I want to show you what are the fruits of mechanical simplicity. What are the fruits of mechanical simplicity? And what I've done here is I've tied together the 3 tenets of the Trinity program that I taught, both 1.0 and 2.0. And that is, we're going to focus on time. We're going to, based on time, create a system that is mechanical. And then the third tenet, James, is we're going to employ money management. Those 3 things together will allow us to have confidence and know exactly what to do when we get to those signals. So when I keep track of these entries, James, without any kind of trail stop, the most basic of entries provides an equity curve. Let me make sure that it's still cranking along here. Yep. Provides an equity curve that looks like this. And the takeaway that I'd like you all to have as a result of that is, hey, he comes up and he shows this stuff every day. And with the most basic entry, the most basic stop, the most basic target, we're able to achieve a return on our investment in time that outpaces the market and outpaces anything you can achieve in terms of a CD or an IRA or any kind of interest-bearing instrument. James, does that make sense? I'm hoping that you'll take this concept, apply one level of complexity to it that might smooth the chart out even more. But for now, my job is to get most of you to that point of, why are we doing it like that? What is the basis of the entry? Oh, well, how come he doesn't XYZ? Right? Why doesn't he XYZ? I see a better entry. I see a better exit. I see a way to lock in profit, reduce my risk. Yeah. So right now in that model, should you be at break even? Yeah. It'd be kind of silly to be up all the way here and still have a stop down there, right? But the model that I'm tracking requires me to do that. The way most people use this room, and this is my experience, please correct me if I'm wrong, and if this is your experience, please confirm it. And I think the same thing happens in Ron's room. Most people use the entries in the room and then manage the trade on their own from there. How many of you would say that's an accurate statement? Dana says yes. Good morning, Thomas. Yeah, so most people are in here to see, okay, Michael gets me to the starting line, and now I'm going to take over. There are people, James, who trail that thing, God, all day. Just signal after signal. They'll get in the long and hold it all afternoon, and those people are called weirdos. Those people are called weirdos. No place for them in our society. So I went to lay down last night, and I closed my eyes probably around 11 p.m. and I could not sleep. I felt the onset of a cold. Started to get a little nasally, and Carrie, for the life of me, as much as I closed my eyes and calmed down, I was, I don't know, meditating is the word, but kind of clearing my mind of thoughts. It would just not stop. And I kept looking at the clock, and the clock would say 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. I finally passed out. My poor wife, she'd wake up every 2 or 3 hours and look over at me and say, "Are you still up? Can't sleep. Did you take anything?" No. Okay. And then she'd fall back asleep. So I'm trying to understand, what did I do? I almost feel like somebody slipped me something in my dinner. Somebody put a caffeine pill in my soda, my water. I don't drink soda anymore. So I'm really sorry about all the yawning. It's not my intention. I did all that. I did the counting. Sometimes I just read. I read on the phone for a while. I know everything about world and current events presently because I've read all the articles. So, just trying to get that through my head. What happened? Next signal on the NQ is going to be here at 9:26, just before the open. We can go ahead and draw a vertical line if we want, just to prepare mentally for that. The ES signal here at 9:11, we're basically where we started. So when you see a trade that hasn't really worked and isn't progressing, you can kind of take the money and run and wait for a better entry. 9:20 signal on the NQ. We exited pretty close to where it was going to exit anyway, so that's $140. I took 180 or 75, I think, and we'll go ahead and put a $7 winner there on our spreadsheet. Next signal above the white line is at 9:28 in the NQ. We have permission to engage that. I have all my college books here, and I don't know what to do with them. The Fundamentals of Physics, Vector Mechanics for Engineers, Modern Physics, elementary differential equations. Where do you bring that stuff? Machine design? I don't think I'll be using those anytime soon. Read them when you can't sleep. I suppose. Alright, we got the open here in 9 minutes. 9 minutes. I'm going to run downstairs real quick. I will be right back before the open. Oh, pardon me. Muting the microphone. I'm back. 9:26 on the NQ. Tom, when there's a major report, the general consensus is to wait 1 minute before and 1 minute after. That's the rule set put in place for example, for a Top Step Trader account, if I see a very low risk entry, if it pulls back into the stop area, for example, and it's very low risk, I'll give it a shot. Like less than $100 of risk. Let's focus. See what we can do here. $9.28 signal on the NQ. I missed my entry, but this was one we would engage. Your stop would presently be right here. Your entry would be back here. And Tim, you see how we went up and away at 9.26? Kind of cool, right? I'm gonna pull my NQ back. Too late. Tell you what, this close to the open. That was the open. Man. Don't hit my stop. Hit my stop. All right. That's the system. There we go. -3.25. Still engaged. Over on the ES, we have a long entry right here from our 9.28 signal. Stop goes below. We're going to hold it until 9.32. There's a period of chop right here. have 53 seconds to survive. Holy cow. I don't know what's up with that. Took our stop out to the tick on the NQ. One stinking tick past it. Can you believe that? Okay, on the ES, I'm gonna move my stop one tick higher and actually lock it in right here. Now I have a breakout, and my stop is going to go one tick underneath the crossover candle, and my first signal here on the ES, we're going to count it as a $2 winner. On this breakout, we're looking for 6 to 8 ticks. 56, 57, 50 would be a good exit point. We're already at the next white dot. That's a minus 1.5. Let's see if I can get in here in this choppy area. It's 2 ticks of risk, 3 ticks of risk. And that was a stop out too. A lot going on in that short period of time. Now that the white dot has been hit, this is a puncture failure. I'm going to put a blue dot here. If it closes below the moving average, we're going to go short. Did we get it? EMA 49, 53, 49, 53, 50. It closed just above the moving average, so there's no entry there. $9.36 signal on CL. We won't engage it, but it is a valid time signal coming up. NQ, we're good until, oh, I forgot to do the splits. You heathens didn't remind me. Should be up to here. Yep. So this first line here, mark, is going to be the split level. On the close of this candle right here. You almost want to give it a shot here, don't we? Oh, no, it's this one. This one, sorry. This one is to the left of the line. Give it 45 seconds here, guys. So the end of this run, Tim, at the first time split is 9:37. So Tim, this is your counter trend area. Buddy, if you were going to pick a high, that's a pretty high area to pick. Right? So this would be someplace, Tim, that you'd be looking for scalps to the downside. 10 seconds left to go until that signal kicks in. As of right now, the high, if we use our little cheat sheet, our signal would go right there. That's where our stop would be. So Tim, does that make sense? If we use that technique I showed you yesterday, you see where that landed? Kind of easy breezy, right? And now we'd be looking for the middle Bollinger Band, or the middle Keltner channel, or the middle VWAP to get out. So about a 1-to-1 risk reward. If it was 1-to-1 risk reward, I would be looking to get out right where it was. So the way I look at this, the way I manage this kind of a trade, as the target moves closer, the stop moves closer too. I never decrease my reward without decreasing my risk. The two things are coupled. They're entangled. It's not really going down at a time I was supposed to see it go down too. So it'd be a chance for me to get out with a small loss. If I felt like I wanted to get out of break even, I could abandon the position because it's not really falling. Trying to pick a top too is hard, right? Yeah, Dana, absolutely. The John Wick rule. So here's a good example of that, right? So it came all the way up, took out my stop. Dana, if it comes back underneath that candle, I would re-enter at the original entry point. So right there, for example, I would have, yeah, you got it. Okay. So Tom, that's why, or Tim, that's why I don't go counter trend. It's no bueno. Hurts me. Or when on the NQ especially, you got to be super fast. Super fast. So I'm going to put my stop. I'll try one more time. Right up there. Back up at the Keltner channel again. This would be an example, Tim, of the puncture trade I teach from the video yesterday, but I don't track puncture trades in that mechanical system. stoned me once, or she's a friend of mine. Take it easy, take it easy. Don't let the sound of your own wheels drive you crazy. Lighten up while you still can. Don't even try to understand. Make your stand. Take it easy. Bow, 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 no, 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 no. On the ES, we have a crossover signal right here. I'm going to take a 2-tick slip. Crossover signal means we were below the moving average, and then this candle right here closes above it. So my stop goes right below the crossover signal. And we're stopped out minus a point. Now we would have a sell stop at the white line. See if we get some distance out of this one. So if you asked earlier about a trail stop on the NQ, obviously I'm at break even right now, and I'm going to hold it until this line right here. I'm going to make that line white and bright so you can see it. ES, we have a puncture. Your stop is going to go above the puncture candle right there. And now we can hold that for 6 to 8 ticks, which would put us somewhere over here. 9:45, signal on CL. Our last signal was only good for 2 ticks. Was it enough to get us engaged? Yes. So over here we're going to buy with a stop below the white line. On CL. Your entry is 94 to 95. Okay, we're at the next split line on the NQ. I'm getting ready to take profit here. That's fun. Let's do more of that. Sell stop is what we want, right? Too much going on at the same time. There's a stop run taking place right here, right now. Okay, so I'm going to try again and put my stop just underneath that run candle. I'm going to exit my first position here if it'll give it to me. Okay, and now I have minimal risk in the trade, and we'll see if it pushes up from here. On CL at 9:45, we have until 9:52 to do something. It's stuck in a range. Let's see if the NQ can get up above 725. Okay, on CL we need to get out. That signal, if I'm paying attention, And not responding to customers' questions was good for 10 ticks. So we'll come over here and we'll log that one for our records. My trade's not really working out on the NQ. Fortunately, the ES is in the green as badly as the NQ is in the red. Neither one of them is running. Yes, the CL inventory report is incorporated into the trading system plan, James. Dana wants to know, of the people in the room, can anyone beat minus 32 and minus 59 wind chill? I guess we're doing a quick survey. I'm closing my NQ position right here because it's not going anywhere. Tim, remember how I said if it's not going anywhere, we can shut the spigot off? We know that the trade that was supposed to happen isn't working. Do I ever listen to business news? No. No, 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 no. James or Ken, do I need to listen to business news if I have that chart right there? Does it look like the news had anything to do with what was planned today? That's my perception of it, and I'm not the smartest person here today. But my perception is that they're following a bunch of plans that they had in place before this market opened today. James says it's minus 20 where he is. It's a balmy 30 degrees here in North Carolina. CL, we're engaged. $9.58. And on the NQ, the system over here took a $4.50 hit. Tim, what do you think so far? Was it what you were expecting? Pleased? Not pleased? Hard to get a read on you. $10 signal on the NQ. Closing in 15 seconds. Will be a crossover signal. We'll give it a shot. 5, 4, 3, 2. No, closes above the moving average. That is a pattern 4. At the MA, I'm going to put a sell stop right here. Dang it. I wanted to catch the breakout out of the low if it went below the low. I didn't get it in time. But the 9:59 and the 10 o'clock signals on the NQ had us on the right side of the pulse anyway. The moving average on the NQ chart is a 120. 120, that's affirmative. Okay, so 10 o'clock on the NQ. If we run another set of splits, holy cow, there's no signals here for a while. We're going to run a double set of splits. From here to here is the first one, and then from here to here is the second one, and I'm going to exit now. So we're running double splits. This is the first one, and then this is the second one. Did everybody understand what I meant by double splits? The original set of lines is here. Boom. Boom. Okay, the little lines are here. Okay. We'll make the little lines yellow so they pop up more. Bisque, I guess. Okay, so we can cut and then we can cut again, which was a good exit, as you can see. Right there, Jim, there. Following the rule at the split. Time is wonderful when you understand its properties like that. I forgot to exit down here. So for your ES, you got 3 3/4 out of it. Call it 3.5. Watch for a stop run in the NQ right here, everybody. Let's say down into this area. 87. 87 area. If it doesn't push back up sooner. Woo! Looking pretty good so far. Back on the positive side. Ten 11 is the exit point on CL. Presently on the ES, we would have a sell stop at the white line looking for a puncture. Our next signal on the ES is at 10 12. We'll be watching for that momentarily. We're coming up on the next signal here. That would be 10 12 as well on the split. So we have confluence between the split and the ES signal at 1012 in the NQ. Exiting CL in 28 seconds. "24 seconds till the entrance on the 1012 signal in the ES. Nice little puncture back up here, clearing out some of the stops, getting more of the shorts engaged. 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're going to put a stop above the blue line over here on the NQ. I'm going to give it a second. I want to watch that candle on the NQ chart. Over here, we're in sim. So the 1012 signal is a buying pressure signal. I don't have anything to do until 1027. I'm going to sell it at the MA if it'll come up that high. Those are usually good for quick runs. $8.50, $3.50 would be $5. See if we can get it if it punctures it. CL's report is coming in 15 minutes. 1016 signal. We have some chop here on the ES. We've missed our fill on the NQ by 1 tick. Why don't I use the power zone in my trading like Ron? Because I don't want to. I don't. Power zone was my idea. I embraced it. I pushed it out there. But Kenneth, I'm beyond power zone in terms of how I apply what I'm looking at. Did you ask Ron why he doesn't use splits like Michael? We just do it differently, man. Okay, we're going to exit the CL chart, or rather the ES chart. Next signal is at 1017. If it breaks through the white dot here, we'll go short for 6 to 8 ticks, 48.75. That was kind of a weird answer, wasn't it? We just have different styles. These are probably the best answer I can give you. So I try to expose everybody here to different techniques in the hope that one of them will resonate with you. Okay, so over here, we're coming up, Ken, on the second order split. It's going to be on the next bar, which will be the 1017 bar. And over here, we are short with a stop above the blue dot. I can't believe I didn't get filled on the NQ. That's the breaks, I guess. We're in sim over on our model here. Money management's keeping us on the sidelines. CL, we have a signal at 1018. That market, if you look at the last couple of signals from the open, has been pretty. We're definitely in a 60 to 70% window on that bugger. Let's try. Man. Comes right down. Look at that. Right back down at the split. I'm going to try a re-entry with a very small stop on the second contract at the 1017 split ES. We're going to exit in 15 seconds at 1019. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Point and a half on that ES short. The thing I don't like about CL report days is it causes the NQ and ES to get laggy and sloppy. After 10:30, things start to open up once they see which direction crude is going. It would be nice to get a monster runner real quick. Just see this thing explode 20 points straight up. Okay, so let's go to break even here, guys. And now we get to practice our split technique one more time. One more time. Actually, do we want to split it? I guess if we did, it would be like that. So these little micro movements would have another split right here on that bar. Pretty sure it would be that bar. Looks like it's right on the line, which is 1022, 1022, 1023, 1024. 1024 will be the next split line. Carrie, I'm impressed with myself. I'm not going to lie. I really am. When it came to that split technique, that eventually leads to force, right? That's pretty insane how that works. It's the sleep deprivation. See what the NQ does. We've got 35 seconds left. Can't lose money on the trade. We're locked in. This looks like a false breakout above the moving average. Okay, so I closed the NQ position at 1024. And we're going to take profit here, 0.5. We're going to exit if it comes through the white line, and CL hit its stop, protecting our account. -7. Give a little, take a little. Save the Excel sheet. There is no moving average on that chart. And Ken, I actually put together a video for you explaining what that line is. And the setups. I uploaded it yesterday. So if you guys want, here's a copy of the video. I'm going to put it in your chat box. Appreciate you being with me today, by the way. Thank you. Ken, do you see that link in your chat box? Okay. That'll explain where the line came from. We went over it last week. Yes, if we close above the moving average, we're going to be looking for a buy signal. Got 13 seconds to go. Closer we get to that CL econ, the closer we get to chaos and pandemonium. Okay. We're going to put a sell stop right below. This is called a crossover signal. We go over it in the video. That candle closes above the moving average after a buying pressure signal. So we'll be watching to see what happens there. Tim, you're coming up to one of those counter trend scalpy areas on the NQ system over here at 1027. CL report in 4 minutes. Okay, next split in the NQ coming up right here. When you get close to an econ, a lot of times, guys, the signals will split. We'll go up at 1024 and we'll go down at 1030. Keep an eye on it. 1029 is a buy signal on the NQ system. CL is here in 5 seconds. Yes, we're going to exit in 45 seconds. CL, if you were looking for long entries, you would have taken a breakout above the blue line right here with a stop below that candle. Okay, on the ES, we're out with a point with a buy stop right here. If it goes above the blue line, I'm going to log the result in our spreadsheet. NQ, I have until the next split right here. I'm going to put it on the right side so we can see it. And see if after the econ this thing doesn't shake loose. The last time signal on our playground chart was at 10:30. If there's no follow through here quickly, I'm going to start to tighten up my stop and get out. I want to see this thing explode in my direction. And so far it's not. So I'm going to get out. There'll be other setups. Man. That's all right. Carrie, I would have made a few bucks on that one. Whatever. Historically, on this signal, we have a $10.50 move, which takes out the last two losers. The next one live would have us long from right here at 714, trading our system. So wherever we're at, our entry was here, our stop was right here. Using the system. Okay, now over here we have the puncture. I'm going to put my stop right below that candle. We'll put it at 50. 4 ticks of risk on the ES right now to try to get 6 to 8 on the breakout. Okay. -1. I'm thinking about shorting up here above the high. So if we look at the signals so far, we're pretty there we go. It's been pretty consistent. It's worth a shot right here. Here's our box. So our stop is where it's supposed to be. In that time, this chart, Parmesan, is a 15 swing strength. Lost my train of thought. 1037. We got a nice little chunk of change off of this one here. It's $125 so far. Where am I on the day? I'm going to close it right here at the moving average. And right now I'm up to 300 per contract. So that's a nice haul for the morning. And it's also good timing because I have to use the potty. Hey, Sarah. Thanks for being a bright ray of sunshine in a room full of grumpy old men. Could always use a lady's touch. It's nice having you in here. Represent. Woo woo. Appreciate you hanging around. Bye. Sarah's super sweet. I like that lady. Oof. Yeah, I remember you. So on the ES now, I'm tracking it but not in it. I was looking for a long entry on the crossover right here. We're going to exit by 1043. CL, the next signal, is at 1049. If we want to continue the micro splits on the NQ, this chart has been absolutely amazing. We'll use the fibs right here, and that'll get me to the next signal. So the next micro splits here, again, we're just using time and manipulating it to understand where to expect things. Should be right here, either this candle or the one to the next. When we're in between like that, it's hard to say. So I'm going to put it there because it looks like it's right about in the middle of that candle. And then the one after that is over here. Oh, man. It is freezing cold up here. That's the only thing keeping me awake right now. Is the fact that I'm freezing. Oh. Oh man, I brought a sweater up too, like I wanted, and I didn't put it on. I don't know what's wrong with me. Okay, on the N key right here, that's our stop if you wanted to go long with the trend. The time right there at this split is 10:42. Put that right here. On the ES, you're just going to get a little tiny piece at 10:43. When that thing closes, you're pretty much at break even from where you started. Yeah, Ken, as a general rule, I don't like to trade past 11. I start feeling like I give more back. We're going to track the results though on here. So we know what the systems did. But for the room results, I'm going to stop right here. Okay, so over here on the ES, we didn't get very far. We just got one tick. And now you're looking for a breakout above the blue line at 53.5. I'm going to mute the microphone here for 1 second.